Welcome. My name is Dr. Mark Kosman. I'm a clinical psychologist and the co-founder of the Professional Practice Builders Society, and I'm here with the host of your show, Rob Graff. Welcome to another episode of the 6-Minute Obsession. Rob, introduce yourself to the good folks here.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Dr. Mark. How is everyone today? We're here for the 6-Minute Obsession.
What is the 6-Minute Obsession?
6-Minute Obsession, really, we're doing a 12-minute, so it's a 12-minute obsession today. It's a 0.2 of billable hours. But the 6-Minute Obsession is what we feel as attorneys when we have to bill our hours. Most of us know what billable hours are. Most of us fear billable hours. I know I fear billable hours. So what it is really that drive that we have to keep billing those hours to meet the requirements of the firm. And it's not even about meeting the requirements of the client. It's about meeting the requirements of the firm and meeting those billable hours so that we can continue to have our jobs and continue to make the money that we went to law school and expected to make.
Yeah, and Rob, we've talked a lot in sort of preparing to launch the show about this obsession with the clock that really you almost can't help but get into. You're sort of conditioned into it because you do have to fill out those billable hours. You have to fill out those billing sheets in order to get paid, and we all need to get paid. But you were describing to me your own life as an attorney, that there's almost like there's this subtle flip that happens at some point, and maybe not so subtle and maybe not so gentle, where you go from measuring time to feeling like time is in control of you. Is that a fair description?
Definitely. We went to law school for some reason, whether it was for an intellectual reason because we wanted to save the world, and you start at a firm that has billable hours and you feel like you're working in a factory, or you feel like you're trapped in prison. Because that's all you're doing. You're working to crunch numbers, to build numbers. They're basically widgets. I left my firm and where I had billable hours, and my first day at home wasn't doing legal work. I went to use the bathroom, and I was going to mark down what time my billable hours had stopped because I can't bill for using bathroom time. And it was just so ingrained in my mind that I had to mark down when I was not billing these minutes. And it's not even hours, it's minutes. We bill a tenth of an hour, so
right. So hence the 6-Minute Obsession.
Exactly.
And how early does that happen in an attorney's career? I mean, how long does it take before you've really got that tick-tock sound happening in your head?
I think it almost starts immediately.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah.
We're not exactly. At least a little good background about myself. I worked as a prosecutor in Delaware County for almost 5 years prior to leaving and having to work at a firm with billable hours, but I always knew about them. That's the one thing you hear about in law school. That's the one thing when my friends left to go to firms, my first question was, how many billable hours do you have for the year? That was the first question I always asked. So we know it. And we know that that is what an attorney's life is like. It's billing those hours. And it doesn't change whether you're a young associate or a senior partner at a firm, you're still billing hours. So it's something that I think automatically switches when you start work at a firm.
Right, right. So you kind of know it's coming, but you don't necessarily really know what it feels like to live under that kind of TikTok feeling of 6 minutes, 6 minutes, 6 minutes.
Well, you get the job description, and then you show up at the first day of the job, and then you get the real job description. So it's along those lines where you have this feeling it's coming, and it hits you because you don't really realize the billable hours. Let's say you have to bill X number of hours in a day. Well, you can't just sit there straight and bill all those hours. There's not always work to do, so it's added on those extra hours at work. Lawyers spend a lot of time at work not because they have so many billable hours, but because of all the other work outside that you can't bill. So you're always worried about that, plus the time you're missing at home, the time you're missing for yourself, the time you're missing with your family, all that stuff, and it builds this pressure and it builds a weight on our shoulders. I felt
you quoted me a pretty scary statistic about that really exemplifies quality of life. I mean,
yes, it was an article by a state bar association that said lawyers are 6 times more likely to commit suicide than the average population. And,
Yeah,
and
that's pretty scary. Yeah.
it's pretty scary. And whatever the reason is, whether it's, and it didn't break it down what type of law they did, but the fact that it is attorneys in general, you see all these things saying attorneys are unhappy. The most unhappy profession is attorneys. Something's got to give. And in my mind, one day I said, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way of doing this. And,
Yeah.
for myself, I haven't quit practicing law. I just do it in a different way. Do I still bill hours? Yes, I do, but most of my work is flat rate. Uh, and working for myself and not feeling that I have to meet X number of hours where I'm sitting and not really interacting with the clients is not wasn't something that fit with me, so I made that shift. But I'm not advocating to leave your job. I'm
Right.
not doing that.
You know, you've only partially you've shifted a little bit. So I mean, you're just to be clear, you're still a practicing attorney. You're a former prosecutor, but you are now building this this vehicle here, in part this show, but also another whole aspect of your practice that's not legal practice. It's a coaching practice to help attorneys really be able to stay in their chosen line of work and not have to leave it, but do it in a way that they can actually thrive and have a good quality of life and actually be happy rather than miserable, right? I mean, am I on the right track here?
Exactly. And the 6 minute obsession comes up because, well, the idea of the 6 minutes, but it's our relationship with time. And if we can change our relationship of time and changing at least one aspect of our lives that is causing us stress, then we're going to be happier at work. We're going to enjoy going to work. We're not going to have the sleepless nights. We're going to wake up feeling refreshed Monday mornings to go into work. And we're going to be more productive because the billable hours are going to be there. You're not going to go into your firm one day and say, I'm sorry, partner that I'm working for, I'm not billing any more hours.
Right, because they might just say, yeah, I'm sorry, see you later. You're replaceable, right?
They will agree with you. They will say
there's a line of people waiting at the door who are more than happy to fill out the billing sheet. Thank you very much, right?
Exactly, but the time will be there, and even if you're not having that interaction with the client, you're still taking on more of a responsibility, and by taking that responsibility and choosing to look at time as something that's your friend rather than as a victim to time or fighting against time, but as something you're working with and something that's just there, it'll lead to better work.
Right. I mean, I know that for myself, and I got to say, I'm fortunate enough that I don't feel oppressed by time in the same way. But I'm even in just trying to stick to 12 minutes on our episodes here. I'm glancing at my little clock here, and I'm feeling that pressure. So I'm getting a little taste of it just doing this. But I know for myself, I have to keep reminding myself that time is sort of an arbitrary human construction, right? And that really there's work and there's how much time it takes, to complete the project that I'm doing. And I can be more or less efficient, but really time is simply a measuring device that is ticking along while I'm doing what I'm doing. And I've got to keep my attention focused on the work. And yes, I've got to note the time, but the time isn't driving anything. It's just measuring something any more than a ruler is changing the length of something, right? I mean, it's just a measuring tool.
Exactly, and people work at different speeds. I mean, you can only read 100 pages so quickly, and you can read 100 pages quicker than me, or I might be able to read it 100 pages quicker than you, but the time is still there. So not worrying about I'm going to be able to bill X number of hours today. It's I'm going to read this document so it can help me do X, or I'm going to read this document so it can help the client I'm working with in preparation for whatever they need. And so by shifting that relationship there, it really makes you feel freer. It makes you feel happier. And I know for myself, it adds more productivity at work. I know when I was able to look at my relationship with time, I was more productive. I billed more hours, and I was happier in what I was doing.
Yeah, I can totally echo what you're saying, because I know that for myself, I've never been less productive than when I was obsessed with the clock. When I'm so focused on the time ticking by, then it actually is a total distraction from the event that I'm having to focus on. And I wish I could give proper attribution to, but there's some time management kind of guru out there who really drilled into my head once upon a time that time management is a complete misnomer. You can't manage time, obviously, because time is just the passage of an arbitrary, measurement device. But what you're really trying to manage is events and the sequence of events, and you're trying to make sure that you're doing the most important thing in the right sequence, right? And then if you do that, time kind of takes care of itself.
And I think you mentioned this to me one time, Dr. Mark, was the fact that if you accept that you're going to be late to a meeting,
yes,
then you feel a lot freer than if you're trying to rush to get to that meeting.
Right.
Because if you've accepted it and you recognize that, hey, I'm just going to be late, I'm going to have to deal with whatever comes along the way.
Yep.
And it leads to less stress. And that's
Absolutely.
what it's about. It's time management and stress management. And I truly believe that a lot of the stress we feel as attorneys has to do with time. Time we're not spending at home with our families, time we're spending at work, time that our clients are taking from us, that we feel are taking from us. But we're really, by changing your view, by shifting your view, you're really sharing it with them. You're sharing your time with them. They're sharing their time with you, trying to work to a certain goal. And that's about being an advocate for them, whether it's in a document or whether it's going to court. You're advocating for them, and you're sharing that time together. It's why you sometimes see clients and their attorneys becoming friends after a case, because you've had such an intense amount of time shared together.
Right. Well, in the 42 seconds we have left before this second billable increment expires here, Rob, I want to invite people to be efficient with their time and get the maximum benefit out of what you're trying to create for attorneys here, which is that people should engage with this show. They should subscribe to this show so that they can get it into their inbox and not feel constrained by showing up at an allotted time. But if you want to be here live, absolutely, that's awesome too. But we're going to keep creating episodes to help people change their relationship with time and their relationship to their work as attorneys. Rob is doing this for your benefit because he's trying to bring it back to you, his people. And we got 4 seconds, so we got to say goodbye.
Goodbye.